Kristen. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. How's your week been going?
It's been going great.
Not any stressful since we're just about to hit the Thanksgiving break?
No stress.
That's awesome. That is so good.
I started Michael Myers.
Absolutely, I understand. So I just wanted to meet with you before I do the observation and just talk to you a little bit about what I'm going to see in your class and all of that, and what you really want me to focus on. So if you can tell me a little bit about the lesson, and I'll be just writing some notes so that when I do come and observe you, I know what to be looking for. Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about the lesson I'm going to be observing?
Okay, the lesson you're going to be observing is about cell structure and function. So the difference between prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells.
Okay.
Also the difference between a plant cell and an animal cell, which are both eukaryotic cells, but they need to know that as well.
Okay,
So,
is this your lesson plan?
This is my lesson plan, yes ma'am.
Awesome.
Yes.
We've got our learning standards there.
Yes ma'am, and my teaks.
And your tears.
Yes ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And do you mind if I take this?
Not at all. Go ahead.
Awesome, great. Okay, what do you hope students will demonstrate by the end of the lesson?
So when the lesson's over, they should be able to tell me all of the differences between every type of cell. Every type of cell that's in the prokaryotic, every type of cell that's in eukaryotic, every difference between animal, every difference between plant. They should know that, and the function. So say I give them like a picture, okay, that has animal cell, plant cell. They should be able to label that cell, both cells, and then tell me what the difference between those cells are, because there are difference between an animal cell and a plant cell. Okay, so they should be able to tell me that.
I would have to do something like that the other day.
Yeah.
She had a difficult time.
Well, and we do it now where it's macro to micro, and I don't care for that. I would rather do micro to macro because.
Can you explain that what that is?
Okay, so the micro to macro is where we start with cells first. Okay, because everything builds off of this. Okay, so like even when you're way down into ecology, they're still going to ask you questions about the different types of cells. Well, now that we've started macro, we've started with ecology, so they don't know the different types of cells. So I have found this year that they're very confused. What's a multicellular cell? What's a unicellular cell? I'm having to go back and put all of that in because they don't know that.
I was going to ask you, so with that being said, how do you manage that they should have learned this first, I guess, right?
I would have. Had I done this, I would have kept it with micro to macro, small to large.
So you really need to build some background knowledge then.
Yes.
For these students to understand this lesson.
Yes. So what I did was when we started ecology, I went back and got my cell structure vocab and handed that out. And said, when we were doing the lessons, and I said, okay, so this, refer back to this sheet, the things that you might not know about, are the words that you have not heard yet, such as the multicellular cells, unicellular cells, all of the different organelles that they have no idea.
Okay, so but you were building some background prior to this lesson that I'm going to observe?
Yes, yes ma'am, yes. So at this point, when you observe this, they should know a little bit something about it because I've already thrown some of it in there.
Okay.
So they will not know all of it, but they will know some of it.
Okay. And that's how the pacing is, though?
Yes ma'am.
So
it builds off of, it just builds. Because biology is, I don't know about math or any of the rest of the subjects, but biology builds off of each other. So you think, oh man, like if they get one that they just absolutely hate, oh, thank God I'm done with that. Not. Because it's going to come back. And it's going to come back. And it's going to come back. And it's going to come back. So there's no getting away from it.
Okay.
Okay, none.
So how will you know that you've accomplished the lesson's purpose?
Well, I usually like to give little tests, little quiz. Every day I do worksheets. Every day I just pound them with worksheets. Okay. And I'll make up my own. Some I'll get off the internet. Some, you know, that are in the program that I have this year. But we'll just do worksheets over and over and over, and then I will give them little quizzes over it. I will have pictures out there, and I'll say label these two, and tell me what they are. Or we'll do matching. Tell me the difference between or we'll do a Venn diagram. Compare and contrast prokaryotes versus eukaryotes, animal cells versus plant cells. So when they can do all of that, then I know they've mastered that. I know they have it, and it takes a while. This is a lot of information.
Okay.
They get it.
So where are you in this particular unit of study?
Right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning.
Right at the
Okay.
beginning.
Okay, so you're just starting out. So you said that you did some background knowledge.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you're right at the beginning. So when do you expect them to be able to? How long is this unit? How of study?
It's like 14 days, I think, something like that. Between 14 and 16 days, something like that. Since I'm going by this pacing guide, last year I took probably 2.5 weeks to do the cell. Something like that. I would say, I'm sure my kids were sick of the cell by the time we were done with the cell. But it's so important because everything builds off of it. Everything builds off of this lesson plan.
Okay.
Off of this.
So in the lesson plan that I'm going to observe, is there one particular thing that they will do to show mastery of what you're teaching that day?
Probably they'll answer a worksheet. Like I said, I'll have a worksheet. So what we'll do is we'll go over information, and then I'll have a worksheet, and then they'll do that. They'll do the worksheet, and then I'll go around and make sure that they answer. When everybody's done, we go over it as a class. And then if they just like totally don't, like totally miss that altogether, then we'll go back over it, like the next day or whatever, the beginning of the next day. If we run out of time then. If we have time then, we'll get back on whatever they missed.
Okay. And at the end of the unit, when you've covered this after the 14 days, is there any like one big thing that they'll do to show their mastery? Or will it just be all the little things?
No, we'll do one big test.
Okay.
We'll have one big written exam after it. That's what we'll do. One big written exam. And I can make a test of 75 questions off the cell. So
wow, so it's really in depth.
It is very in depth.
It's really in depth. So
find one of my students one day and ask them about that cell. They'll tell you it's very in depth.
okay, so another question. We've got diverse population here. We have the EVs, we have our special education students, we have our 504 students, and
Yes.
then we just have people that are on different levels.
Yes.
So how do you plan to accommodate diverse learners during this lesson?
Well, I have a whole lot of what you call them, EV?
Emerging bilingual or ESL students.
Yes. Well, this class is the majority of them are EV students, which is very difficult for me because I do not speak that. I do not speak Spanish, so to get that across to them sometimes is very challenging what I'm wanting them to do. So what I do is I'll write their vocab words, and then I'll Google translate it to English or Spanish from English to Spanish and print that out, and then they'll have English one and they'll have Spanish one. They'll have both. I'll use pictures because sometimes it's just a whole lot easier to show them as opposed to just saying, I'll draw on the board. I'll do diagrams on the board. I have this little nifty deal over here, but half the time I can't get it to work. So I just print out the pictures. I give them more time if they need it. Like my 504 students, they need more time. So they'll get a little more time. I'll work a little bit more with them one-on-one as opposed to the rest of the class. If I see that everybody else is getting it down pretty good, I'll spend more time with some that are really struggling, which is usually.
So here we have sometimes a lot of our students that struggle with like the vocabulary.
They do struggle with it.
So for maybe like our 504 or special education students who don't quite understand that vocabulary, do you break that down for them in simplified vocabulary? How do you do that?
I do. I try to give them root words first, Okay, so that they kind of know what the word means, like, oh, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think, like, right now I can't come up with an example off the top of my head, I'm sorry, but I will give them the root word first, and then tell them the meaning of that root word, and then like where it originated from, so that they can kind of understand where that, because like in biology, a lot of our language it's Latin, so they're like, Latin, Latin. Yes, it's Latin. So we don't use that a whole lot anymore, but biology words, a lot of them are still in Latin. So I will try to break it down so that they can understand the word. We do dictionaries a lot, as you can see, and we have the Spanish to English dictionaries, so that they can just kind of, they know how to look them up. Even that will help them, not even in this class, in the other class, so they know how to use the dictionary to look something up. I found that they struggled with that a lot at the beginning of the year. I was having to show them how to do. I do my vocab on the board they have vocab. I have a list that thick of vocab. But they do struggle with that, words that they've never. I find pronunciation is what they have the hardest time with.
Okay.
Is if they can't pronounce it, then they get frustrated and they're like, I just don't, And then if they can't pronounce it, they don't really know how to look the word up, it seems like. So
if they are having some of those issues where they get frustrated or they can't pronounce it, what do you do to help them through that?
well, I just try to take my time with them. I just try to take I'll get the dictionary with them, and I'll open to where it is, and I'll tell them, like your ABCs. Your ABCs. We go in alphabetical order when we're looking something up. So like, because they'll just like want to open up the C's. We're just going to say C's. They'll just open it up and then just start looking through anywhere to find cell. Okay, well, it's alphabetized, so you start with the C, then you go to the next letter in the alphabet, which is the E in this particular case, and then the L, and then, but it's difficult. I struggle with it. I struggle with finding a way to. I don't feel like I do a good job at them getting it. I know they get it because they pass the skills test. So I know they do, but I don't see the aha moment. I don't see it. I see blank stares, and it really worries me because I just don't see it.
And then they surprise you.
And then they surprise me, yes.
And then you go, yeah.
Then I'll go, oh wow, yeah, that's great. But yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, I think, for all of us, but we get through it.
Okay.
We manage to get through it. It's a fun class.
Absolutely. Well, and I see as I'm walking by and stuff that they're engaged and all of those things.
Yeah, don't let them sleep through that. They are engaged. We are very much engaged in their class. I will call on them. Now some that I know how to read, I will pick them. And this class, there's several of them in there that they'll just volunteer to read. They'll read it on. Some of the problems is they're reading so fast that you can't understand what to slow down to read it. But yeah, keep them very well engaged. You can't let them.
That's good.
Be engaged.
So in thinking about your teaching standards, what would you like me to focus on during the observation specifically?
Well, I think just the way I come across to them, maybe my teaching style, as opposed to what I'm teaching, but how I interact with them, how I get them to understand what I want them to understand, whether it's me sitting up there on that board and drawing a picture 14,000 times or doing a chart or whatever it is until I can get them to go, oh, okay. Because that's what they'll do. And they'll go, oh, this is easy. Yeah, oh, see?
Okay, so some of that communication interaction piece and some of that differentiated things that you do, so that's what you would like me to focus on. And the engagement.
And the engagement, how I get them engaged, because I think that if they're not engaged, they're not really learning. If they're sitting here going like this, I want them looking at it. I want them reading. I want them flipping through the papers to try to find it. I want them answering my questions, and they're great about it. Even if they get it wrong, they'll throw out the wrong answer. They'll throw it out. They're not scared to answer the question, and then I'll be like, that's not quite right. So let's go back and look again.
Okay.
Or when they get the right answer, I'll ask them why. Why'd you pick that answer?
That's good, so you're making them think about it.
Yes,
instead
I
of
do, yes.
Just, give an answer.
Right, not just to spit out A, B, C, D.
Okay.
I want them to tell me why.
So it sounds like you're telling me too that you're incorporating all like the ELTs, like the reading, writing, speaking, and listening
Yes,
in your class.
I try very hard to do that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, I try very hard. They write, they speak, they read. Yes, I try real hard to do that, to incorporate all of them.
Okay, so what is important for me to know about this specific class that I'm going to observe? Are there any specific issues or concerns for the class that I'm about to observe?
This is a great class. The only issue that I have with this class is that a majority of them are EB. That's it. That's the only thing that we struggle in this class with, is they struggle trying to understand me, and I struggle trying to get the information across and understand them.
Okay.
You know, you'll hear miss, 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 a whole lot.
Okay.
But other than that, it's a great class.
Okay.
It's a good class.
So are there any specific student behaviors you would that you want me to watch for?
I don't have any problems. They're great. Like I said, they'll answer the questions even if they're wrong.
And
Now they talk.
And you
There's a few
specifically
that
told
talk.
me you want me to watch like their engagement.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because they will engage. They even some of the ones that can't speak English good will throw out an answer, whether it's A, B, C, D. They'll throw out an answer. I mean, I've had Miss Baird, the principal, come in and sit one time, and she was like, "Oh my God, they're all answering. They're all just throwing them out. A, D, C. Whoa, wait, one at a time." So they want to learn. They want to get it.
And it sounds like
We have fun.
you have fun in class,
Yes.
and that you developed like a community in your classroom where they feel comfortable.
They're very comfortable. I believe they're all very comfortable in here. Yes, they all will read. They all. I mean, yes, they're very comfortable.
That's
Yes.
great. So you really developed a culture in that classroom.
Yes, I hope so. Yes.
So is there a specific teacher behavior that you want me to watch for?
Sometimes I think I can get a little frustrated just because I don't know whether I'm getting, if we're usually when we're first starting a subject, that's when they're just like, they got all these blank stares, you know. Now, by the time we're like a week into it, we're good. But when we're first starting out, I think we're all just a little frustrated, and I have to stop and catch myself when they're just, you know, sitting there. For instance, the bell ringer. The bell ringer drives me crazy. Okay, they're simple, but they have the hardest time with the bell ringer. I have not figured out why they have such a hard time with the bell ringer. But it's something that should take 5 minutes to do takes them 20 minutes. And then finally I'm just like, okay, we're not going to worry about the bell ringer anymore. Okay, we're done with the bell ringer. I don't know why.
So are your bell ringers something that they've already learned?
Well, usually the bell ringers, I take the bell ringers a whole lot of times out of the country strong, character strong, whatever that thing is. But here lately I've just been doing what we've worked on that week. So like today's bell ringer was, why do we use taxonomy to organize or to, you know, classify? And I beat that in their heads all week long. To avoid confusion, to avoid confusion, to avoid confusion. So today's wasn't any, but maybe they just can't read it. That's the reason they're having such a hard time. Because I've noticed they'll take out their Chromebooks and they'll type it into Google to translate it into Spanish. So maybe I need to come up with a different way for them to do the bell, but I can't write it in Spanish, you know? Or maybe, I don't even know if anyone can write in Spanish. Like I have some bilinguals that were really good in here that help me translate, bless their hearts. But I don't know if they can even write that in Spanish. But I do know they struggle with
Do you
that.
just write the bell ringer, or do you use a projector?
No, I just write it. Yeah, I just write it. Maybe I could utilize my projector and maybe do it in both. You know, that might be.
And that's
usually.
that might be why it's taking them a longer time, because they have to
I think that's what
translate
it
first
is. Yes.
and then kind of process.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's what you want me to look at, I can be looking at that.
Yeah, that's.
For you. And I know you said
come up with a different way.
I know you said that character's strong too. Does that one take a long time too?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes it does, yeah, because they don't understand some of the words that are on there. One I had yesterday, day before, I don't remember what day, but one of them was what motivates you to work hard. Motivate got it. Like motivate is totally off, you know. So some of I think, yeah, I think it's not really. I mean, they're not hard. But when you don't understand what they're asking you, it makes it difficult.
And sometimes some of our EVs don't have that background knowledge either.
Yes.
And so it's to either build that background knowledge or find a way to connect with their experiences that they've had
Yes.
already.
So some of that can be difficult, and I try not to get frustrated, and I hope I don't. And I hope it doesn't come across as I'm frustrated, but I know that I do, because I know that at some point I'm not reaching them, and and then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh my God, did they understand anything I said? Because I want them to learn it.
Absolutely. Well, I'll watch for that.
Okay.
When I come
So
to
I just want to be able to
observe.
Okay.
So then the last question I have for you is, when can we conference about my observation? Can we do it like after school, after I've observed you? Do you want to do it on your conference period?
We can do it. I'd like to do it on my conference period, but if you have to do it, like if there's something that you know we need to really discuss, then we can do it after school. That's fine. But I would say on my conference period, we'd have more time that we can sit and discuss.
Do you want me to do that the same day that I do that observation, or do you want me to do it the following day?
That I don't have any objections to either.
Okay.
Whichever you prefer.
Then I will come and I'm observing your class tomorrow, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what period is that?
Third
period.
Yes.
Okay. So I will come in and observe your third period class tomorrow, and then we can just meet on your conference tomorrow afternoon.
That's perfect.
And just kind of debrief and talk about what great things you're doing in the classroom.
Okay, that's perfect.
Thanks so much, and I'll see you in class tomorrow. Well, I'll see you in the hallway.
Right, yes.
But I'll definitely be